Last week I was slapped in the face, but it was a good slap because it made me realize few things. That in large organizations, we don't have experts, we don't have thought leaders, and we don't have creative people. Hi, I'm Sylvia, an organizational psychologist, and as you know, I talk about everything related to people management practices. Forget about the term human resources because that's nothing to do with it. It's really all about how we manage people. And if you are a leader, a manager, or in HR, and you want to think differently about these practices and how you approach people in general, hit the subscribe button. And I'm also gonna link my blog below so you can start and get different perspectives. So today we're talking about experts versus thought leaders and building high-performing teams. Let's get into it because this last week I watched a video of somebody talking about her journey going from being an expert to being a thought leader. And I was like, what is this about? And it literally hit me, it resonated with me. But I'm like, okay, I always do it first things first. Let's go to the definition. And experts, it's very easy, right? Because experts are industry experts with great knowledge, experience, skills, and expertise in general. So they are the subject matter experts and they know their topic, their area inside out. And then you have the thought leaders. They might also be experts on certain areas. We all are, right? If you do something, you kind of know what you are doing, okay? So thought leaders might be experts in certain areas, but they are they also have the capability and the capacity to think differently about the topic, to see them in a very different point of view, the way nobody has ever seen that, to consider the things differently, to do things differently, to experiment and create, with new ideas, new way of doing it. So then I was thinking, and also to influence others to do that, right? Because if you manage to think about things differently, that's for you. But if you also manage to influence others to see your point of view and create change, now you might be a thought leader, right? Offering different alternatives, different perspectives, right? And get people to think differently. And I never really thought about myself as a thought leader. But then when I heard her talking, I'm like, I always do that. And even my newsletter, it says, helping you to think about corporate practices differently. And I have written hundreds of articles and people, they do resonate with others. So I was like, okay, let me take this subject because now this is interesting. The ingredients of an expert and the ingredients of a thought leader are very much missing from organizations. And we are always talking about high-performing teams. And when I run workshops about how to build high-performing teams, everybody is just looking at me like, we never thought about this way. Exactly, because nobody is thinking in organizations. We are not allowed to think. We are only allowed to run existing processes and systems. So I realized that creative people, experts and thought leaders don't stay in large organizations because their skills, their strengths are not required. What we are all required is to run existing things and maintain the status quo. And unfortunately, that leads to mediocre performance. So there are no high-performing organizations, okay? Because if you eliminate these roles, thought leader and an expert, you can't have a high-performing organization or team. So let's look at how you build this team, high-performing team, thinking of these two. So expert versus thought leader. So as I was thinking about it, I realized that thought leaders transform organizations because they are creative, they are brave, they don't mind doing things that nobody has ever done, right? They don't need the proof of the pudding because those are the expert, those are the followers, yeah? Expert and non-expert, and those are just the one in their jobs and doing the jobs, right? Those are the ones, the followers. So expert could be a follower, but also can be a standalone that, hey, I know my craft and you're all doing it wrong and I don't even want to belong. I'm not going to follow you because I know that you are doing wrong. But it doesn't mean that the expert can create a change. An expert knows expert in their field, and they run organizations so well by the book, but they are likely to maintain the status quo because the expertise is very valuable, but the expertise is kind of anchors them down, right? Hey, this is how we do it. It's very black and white, and we need that. But we need both. So thought leaders transform organizations, experts kind of run them by the book and maintain the status quo. And this is where it gets beautiful because we need them both. Because the two without one another, it can be chaos, right? Chaotic. So thought leaders might create a mess because they don't know the the nitty-gritty of each areas, right? Then this is where we need experts. But experts, if you only have experts, nothing will ever change. Those are the very strict-minded, close-minded, this is how we do because this is how we've been doing in the past 25 years. Okay, everything is changes, right? And if you are willing to or planning to build a high-performing team, I suggested that organizational leaders and maybe head of departments, right, depending on the structure, they should be thought leaders if you want to make a change and transform things. But functional leaders, they should be experts. And the two can start working together. And here is why. Because experts, they know the function. They know any decision or any change you want to make, how that's going to impact the workforce, the systems, the processes, and what other areas need to be looked at. And expert or thought leaders would not necessarily know that. And every expert is in a very narrow field. So you need more of those. I will link this video previously I made that HR, human resources as such, it doesn't exist because each HR function is a highly specialized function. Those are experts. And HR is literally the generalist supervising these experts. So maybe that generalist should be a thought leader, and that would make then sense, right? Because then HR, the thought leader who's supervising this but doesn't have a lot of expertise in this area, maybe one or two based on the experience and the background, can work together and make a change and create organizational people management practices, change in people management practices. I will link that video for you and you can watch that. So let me give you an example. If I want to get rid of a probation period, right? Because my background is in talent management, talent development, and learning and development. And I'm very creative in terms of I'm brave enough to experiment and change things around, change these practices. So if I decided, okay, we don't want a probation period because I looked at the data and it doesn't serve anything and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. But I would need an a labor law expert because I don't know the implication, the legal implication on that. So I would have to consult. And then the expert would say, experts always say, no, you can't do that because of ABC. And this is where it starts to get beautiful because then I say, we need to make that happen. How? And then you start working together. So you are law compliant, yet you do what is best for your organization, right? And the same with if I wanted to change the performance management practices that would impact bonuses, incentives, commission, whatever that we are paying. I would need a comp and ben expert because I have no idea about compensation and benefit. So I would have to literally, okay, what this is what I want. What are the implications? And the experts will come and tell you A, B, C. But we know these things. Unfortunately, in organizations, we don't have that. And if we don't have that, we can't have high-performing teams. So experts and thought leaders are very much needed. Experts will tell you, and why don't we want them in organizations? It's a very interesting one, right? Because experts will tell you everything that you are doing wrong, and experts will also tell you how things should be done. And we don't like that. And thought leaders will make changes, they take risks, they do things that is not done before, maybe it's not data backed, maybe there is no historical evidence, maybe there is no business case, and we don't like that either. But we have seen in previous companies, or we have seen that with previous companies, that those who sometimes do the illogical, the irrational, things that has no proof, are the winners. But those are the thought leaders. Those are the creative ones that are visionary and can envision something that nobody else can, and they have the power to do that. Now, if you are a thought leader, but you don't have the power in corporations, you're not doing anything. And that's why experts leave large organizations, because the expertise are not needed, rejected every single second. And thought leaders are not in organizations because organizations are so rigid, so bulletproof, right? Risk averse, that they will not take risk. Unfortunately, the safer you play, the less successful you will be. And here I'm talking about people management, right? And not talking about businesses. Businesses, we figured out how to make profit. That's all cool, right? But we have seen that people management practices are the successful ones, are those ones that are not done by anyone, but you have a very creative, brave HR supported by the CEO or the head of the organization and said, make it happen for my employees. And that's what we need. We don't need to follow every single process. Most don't make any sense. But for that, you need to hire experts and you need to hire thought leaders. Because if you are just giving freedom and creativity to an incompetent person who is just mediocre and follows others, that's not going to work. That's the guaranteed mess, right? So hire people, hire thought leaders who are aware that they are not expert in everything, and hire experts who are aware that they are only expert in one area or two, and that's it. So the generalist approach is not working. And this is what we have created by eliminating experts and thought leaders. So ask yourself the question, are you a thought leader or an expert, or you are just being there and you are none of them? That's your homework. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and I will put the links below for the article, for my blog, so you can think about people management practices differently. And I always also link the previous video, HR, the generalist supervising the specialized functions, so you understand what I mean. Enjoy, bye!